Hi guys, I'm Bex,
And I'm Grace.
and we're the Packer Sisters.
Tune in each week as we process through everyday topics and personal experiences. Okay, so thanks for joining us for another episode of My GeneSIS. After processing through some heavier topics the past few weeks, we thought we might change it up with something a little new. And so this topic was actually suggested to us by somebody we consider very near and dear to us, our cousin Sarah.
Hello.
Yeah, that's Sarah. So the new voice you hear belongs to her, if you're wondering. And so I guess I remember that you brought this topic up to me, Sarah, and right away I was like, that would be something really cool to talk about with you. Do you happen to remember why you chose the topic?
What? I think we've kind of been getting reconnected and discussing just a little bit about, how we've been expressing ourselves lately and kind of our journeys of growth through college, because at this point we've both kind of gotten through it. And I've kind of started indulging into kind of makeup and that whole area. And you said that I'd kind of been a little bit of an inspiration to you. And I was like, hey, I've listened to your guys' podcast. What if you guys kind of did a topic on that?
Yeah, definitely. And you definitely have been a huge inspiration to me, not just through makeup, but through your courage to just be yourself. I mean, speaking of beauty, today we were talking before the podcast and Sarah dyed her hair purple. That's fun, right?
Just a little experiment.
I bet it looks really good, but sadly we can't really see it on our end. The
And we
lighting's
can't really
weird.
show it to anybody else either.
Yeah, you can only hear us, so.
What I can say is Walmart. Your box guys, do it.
Do it.
Oh my goodness, I love it. Well, before we jump into kind of the nitty gritty, Sarah, one of our traditions for bringing in people into our podcast is asking kind of some get to know you icebreakery sort of questions so that our listeners can kind of get a sense for who you are too. Obviously, we know you, but we also know that as you've grown and you've journeyed on into adulthood, that obviously you have changed as well. So our first question for you is, who is your hero? And this could be somebody you admire, somebody you look up to.
Would it be too cheesy to say my mom?
No.
I mean,
that's super sweet.
I mean, I guess kind of throughout my life, she's been there for me. I mean, she was kind of a single parent for the majority of my life. And I mean, she was raising my brother, my sister, and I. And then she got herself through college while I was in junior high and my siblings were in high school and stuff. And she picked out a career and she's stuck with it and continued on, got a new house. To me, that's just kind of motivated me. Just growing up, when you grow up, you don't usually see your parents go through college. You don't see them pick out a career. And I think being able to see that was just a bigger push for me to want to do those things and want to kind of achieve it. Because I was like, if my mom can while raising 3 kids, like, why can't I at 21 with like nothing tying me down?
That's awesome. Your mom is amazing, and your family is amazing too. What has been your favorite quarantine snack?
My favorite quarantine snack?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. Okay. There are these cookies I've made a few times. You take their Nutella, and then you put M&Ms in them and chocolate chips, and then you do a little sprinkle of salt on top, and it is, piece of resistance.
That is amazing.
I want to eat them.
That sounds so good.
I just love cookies. Oh man.
Yep.
on top of what your favorite quarantine snack is, what's your favorite quarantine activity?
I've definitely been one of those people that picked up paint by numbers. But the one I'm most proud of is I've started to knit again, and I got my boyfriend into knitting. So we've been knitting together. So
That's so awesome. What
fun.
do you knit?
Um, he's knitting a scarf. I'm working on a small lap blanket, and I haven't gotten very far because it's a lot of work.
It is.
Yes. Oh my gosh, Grandma would be so proud.
I do like a row at a time, and then I'm like, that was a lot.
Yeah. A
That's
blanket
true.
is like a really big project.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't knitted in years.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, good for you. That sounds like a really fun way to just spend some time and relax, honestly.
Makes watching endless Netflix a lot easier.
So let's just dive into our topic today. So we're talking about beauty. And before we, get started all the way, I just wanted to mention that obviously, since the three of us are, women, like, you're going to get a woman's perspective on this topic. So we might not talk about like a guy's perspective as much, like the whole muscly thing that goes on with magazines. So we apologize for that. But hopefully our listeners can still relate, no matter what gender you are, to what topic we go over today. So let's do this. Right. So I guess we had done some research before the episode, and we found a couple really interesting pieces of history that we thought would be interesting, not only just to share with Sarah and discuss, but just to share with our listeners too. I'm assuming everybody knows who Marilyn Monroe is, right? And she's not only a beautiful woman, but she is a feminist icon. So, she's pretty cool. She was actually like 5 foot 5 inches tall, which is pretty short for a beauty icon. But she had a 23-inch waist roughly and a 35-inch bust, which is pretty small, but very like normal, healthy size for a woman today, I'd say. But back then, she would have been a size 12 to 16, which when you transpose that to today's sizes, since the sizes have changed a bit, that would actually be a size 4 today. But just kind of thinking about that, how the sizes have changed, it's really interesting to see how, back then someone really small would have been considered like a larger size, if that makes sense.
I think one of the things too that you have to consider is that specifically the waist size for women during a certain time frame, I think it was mostly in like the 50s that you see it, that's kind of where the Barbie doll shape, I think, was also either inspired or what kind of inspired culturally some expectations for women's bodies of being busty and being really, really trim in the waist. For some reason, the thigh gap existed. And all these things seem really unattainable.
I mean, what? This just kind of makes me think kind of about that ideal corset shape, right?
Yeah.
Like, it kind of pushes the bosom up and also emphasizing kind of that hourglass shape that you'd have.
It does make me think too that women's body image was like the ideal body image was crafted and envisioned by men.
It's true.
Because the body image that we're seeing, the thin waist, the big bust, the long legs, are sexualized. And it's really interesting to think because men don't really have to do the same things. They don't realize how much it takes for a normal sized woman to lose that kind of weight or to take that shape when your body isn't meant to.
Yeah, because it's like scientifically harder for a woman to lose weight. I don't know why, but women's bodies tend to store more fat in them than a man's body would. So, like my husband and I can work out for 2 weeks. He'll lose tons of weight, you can see his muscles, and I'll be like, is there anything different? I don't see anything different.
Yeah, I think I've read a little bit on that at one point in my life. And obviously, men have testosterone, easy muscle
Mhm.
builder. But I've also read that because women's hormones are fluctuating all throughout the month, that it actually makes it really difficult to either just lose weight or build muscle because our hormones are constantly changing. And at
Ugh.
each level, it's either easier or harder to lose or gain weight and muscle. And I think that's just kind of a big factor is I think a lot of like workouts and all that stuff to maintain the ideal body isn't targeted towards a woman. Like
Mhm.
realistically, it's based on what men can do to gain that. And
Mhm.
people have want to apply it to women. And in reality, it can't be applied to us like that.
Yeah.
We need ones that are made for us.
And kind of segueing into our next topic too, I think one of the ways that women um, kind of try and reach those body goals is through things like diet. I know that we see fads of diets kind of throughout the years. And Sarah, I know it looked like you had some thoughts on that. I mean, I was just even thinking about how there was a time in high school where my mother wanted to do some like dieting, and the doctor suggested like the HCG diet, and I did it with her. And HCG is like a hormonal treatment that is used, or like that pregnant women create in their bodies. It's really fascinating. But basically, you put drops of this chemical underneath your tongue, and you suppress your caloric intake by so much that your body goes into shock. It's like starving your body. So, and we only did this for a very short amount of time because we could tell after a while that just like we were exhausted, lots of fatigue, didn't feel very good, and we weren't really like, we lost a lot of weight in like the first week, but it was just like really unrealistic. But just like those kinds of things are what are being recommended by people these days, and that's really scary to me.
I mean, yeah, I didn't know that that was one of the things that you guys did. I mean, I knew that, throughout the years of going over to your place, I knew that you'd done like different kind of like cutting out different foods and stuff, which is pretty normal for people trying to diet. And I mean, that's kind of, I guess, one of the extremes. And it makes me think of products. In the social media, there's so many celebrities and stuff that are in the light that are trying to sell products, and people buy into it.
Mm-hmm.
And where were you guys suggested to do the HCG?
It was by a doctor, by
Ooh.
her doctor, which is kind of like, in a way, to me, that's even like more scary, because you would think that they would want the best for your health.
And a physician would know the dangers of that, especially for something that it didn't seem like it was really needed, like that extreme.
No, I don't think so. I think there was a lot of pressure on my mom to feel like she needed to lose weight, and I think for me being in high school, I think I was feeling not pretty. And so I felt like maybe if I lost weight with my mom, it would be a good thing. But truly, it just was a really horrendous experience. But I'm curious too to hear a little bit about if you have any experience or like hands-on experience with some of these fads, like it looks like juicing or keto or
Just
fasting.
thinking about what I've seen personally on social media, and I'm not even someone who really participates, even approves of these methods, just because of how dangerous they can be, and just the majority of the people that latch onto them. And I just think social media has played such a big part. And every couple months, you kind of a new fad gets picked up. I've seen. So I remember when juicing was a big thing. Companies started selling, your juice meals. They'd ship you like juices, and you'd have one for breakfast, one for lunch, one for dinner, and that was a thing. And companies started getting on that. And then I remember the keto diet got in, and all this kind of misinformation went around. Everyone was trying it. It's like suppressing your body and forcing it into a different state. by denying it a source of food, which is kind of like what I think of with the pill that you were taking or the drops.
Mm-hmm.
Is it's just suppressing one of your body's natural ways of consuming food. And I just kind of with each new fad, I feel like celebrities get on it and they have a huge outreach on social media. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just kind of that ever going circle to me.
Yeah.
And yeah, like one diet I've seen is the orange diet where all you eat is oranges for like a week. Like I knew someone that did that and they were trying to lose weight and they're like, "Oh, I'm doing the orange diet." And I'm just like, "I've never heard of that before." But just oranges for every meal. That's all they had. Oranges and fasting.
That sounds so unhealthy. And like
Yeah.
the lemon juice cleanse that people were trying to do, you add like a little bit of maple syrup or something and like lemon juice. You just drink that. I think that was a
Jeez.
long time ago one.
Oh, gross.
It's just I don't get wanting to eat just one food. That's how is that healthy in any way?
So, kind of going off the whole idea, Sarah, you were saying how a lot of stars and famous people kind of promote different fads and stuff. Like, just movies and media in general have such different standards of beauty. I know one of you mentioned the Princess Diaries.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, that was you, Sarah.
Yeah.
So, do you want to kind of talk about what kind of affected you personally in that movie? Because it was really interesting what you shared with me.
Yeah, so when we were thinking about topics for this, my brain immediately went to, childhood movies that I loved and would grow up with. And one of those being The Princess Diaries. I feel like a lot of people have seen them, love them. But one thing that I've thought a lot about is you see her progression from her early stages with her little high school self, her insane frizzy curly hair, just out of control, big chunky glasses. She's not exactly the most elegant person around. But at the same time, you have to think she's in high school. She's a teenager still. She's not even an adult. Of course, she's going to look horrible sometimes. I mean, if you look back at all of our pictures, we never looked great. But it's not even the fact that she looks bad, it's that they went so far to try and make her look this way.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like the things they instilled in it with the hair and the glasses.
Mm-hmm.
And then when she glowed up, when they did the whole transformation, straightening the hair, getting rid of glasses, doing makeup, and then saying, that's how you look pretty. I think that was just such a different message that they could have given.
Mm-hmm. I do remember too in the film, like once she got her makeover, she went back to school and like all the boys were like, "Oh, she's so pretty." And then all the girls were finally like trying to talk to her and be nice to her. And it was just
like being pretty is the only way you can be popular.
Yeah, it's weird.
Here is how you be, stereotypically pretty. I think they could have gone such a different route with it. But for its time, I mean, given when it was made, that was kind of what a lot of movies were for teenage girls.
Yes.
Look, if you straighten your hair, get some contacts, and do this, you'll be attractive, and all the boys will fall for you, and you can have your happily ever after.
Oh my gosh.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I think that was certainly the messaging of the time, and I think the beliefs and the values of women have kind of shifted a little bit in the last probably 10 to 20 years.
I mean, yeah, definitely. You can see we've had a lot of firsts for like women in films now. I mean, just superhero movies. I mean, there's been so many that have been coming out. Like, female Ghostbusters happened. And so I think definitely there's newer messages that are happening for younger audiences and kind of women in general. But definitely with the times, with what we grew up with, I think it was a lot harsher and kind of gave us a lot of standards for ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, do you guys remember back in high school that really awkward feeling of just feeling not pretty, or even just trying to like flatten your hair so that you'd fit in with all the other girls?
Oh yeah. Oh
yeah. Yeah. With someone with curly hair, I remember junior high, all the girls just somehow decided to straighten their hair. That became a thing. I begged my mom for a hair straightener, and she got me one, bless her soul. And my inexperienced self attempted it and was horrible at it, and my hair was out of control, frizzy, and every time I try and straighten it, we live in a rainy climate. Guess what? I'd step out the door and boom, it would just frizz.
Mm-hmm. I know another thing that Sarah and I had mentioned talking was just shaving. Like the idea of women having to shave. And I know Sarah had a lot to say on that, so do you want to just go for it?
Well, I don't know about a lot. I feel like I can kind of ramble about all these topics at this point in my life.
I'm sure.
I mean, what? If we're talking about shaving, I think a lot of us can kind of remember the first time that either our parents told us, hey, have you heard about shaving?
Yep.
Or I know a couple students learned about it through other people bullying them for having hair. And it's like, not everyone's parents can take charge and tell them to shave. But then also, why did we decide that girls need to start shaving at, say, 12 years old for beauty? And I never really understood who set that rule. I just remember one day, I don't know if it was me or my mom who initiated it, but I got a razor and she taught me to shave, and I just kind of went with it. And definitely getting older, I've started, questioning it more and more. Like, why is it so unclean for women to have hair? If anything, I know I take care of any body hair very well. I've kind of grown my legs out throughout college. Feel like that's a normal thing. And it's just kind of really made me question over the years, how I got started, who started that for us. And if it's a beauty standard, why is it put on us at 12? That feels a little inappropriate to me for a child to be told to be beautiful. They need to shave body hair. Because it is such to me, a sexualized thing, a woman's smooth leg or all that.
Yeah, because I know I've heard around just in history and people talking about how women's shaving even started was like because the people who made razors or whatever, the shaving people, let's say, they're like, we're not selling enough shaving cream slash razors. We're only selling to half the population because only men use them to shave their beards. But what if we convinced women to use these things? And so they made this whole ad campaign to shame women's body hair so that women felt more inclined to, shave off their leg hair and armpit hair. It's kind of the same, I think it was like toothpaste or something, like just peppermint. Like bad breath technically doesn't exist. We just have normal breath. But then once they introduced the minty fresh stuff, then they shamed people into thinking they had bad breath, so they'd use it.
I was also thinking about how deeply internalized though these values have been put into us, because even for me, like the idea of not shaving like my armpits and wearing like a short sleeve shirt makes me feel really self-conscious, and that to me says that messaging of not having shaved is considered unclean or not attractive. It runs really deep, and it's really hard to unlearn that.
Well, it's something taught so young, and that you start doing, yes, depending on darkness of your hair, but for me, it's like you do every day. And it would just be part of your routine. And if you didn't do it, well, you didn't complete part of your routine. It's like if you didn't wash your hair or something. And I think that just becomes a really big comfort thing for girls. And it's part of your femininity. If you want to be beautiful, you're going to have a very smooth leg to show. You're not going to have armpit hair sticking out. And I think kind of being kept hairless for most of your life and then wanting to grow it out, it's going to make you pretty uncomfortable.
Yeah. And also, like, not to mention, when we speak hairless, I feel like there are some women that take it to the umpteenth degree because they have hairy faces or they have hairy arms, like dark, that are super visible, and we're taught that that's not attractive, and so people go get their faces waxed or their lips waxed, and they shave off their arm hair. And it's like all of these natural areas where hair grows, like we're changing that. and you're going to lengths to remove it just because something says that it's not pretty or not attractive.
Yeah, I remember first time in high school, I learned that one of my friends shaved her arms. I just thought that other people had less dark arm hair, or that my arm hair was just really dark and lush, and I didn't know people did shave it. And then one of my friends was like, "Oh, I didn't shave my arms today," and I was like, "Wait, hold up, what?"
Right.
And that was kind of my first introduction to it. It was a little bit later, and it started making me question, is everyone shaving their arms and has been secretly judging me? And I think when I kind of like took a few years, I was like, wait, why am I even concerned if people are judging me on my arm hair? Like,
Right.
everything. If they're focusing on my arm hair, I think there's bigger issues.
I would love to segue into a whole nother conversation here, if y'all are ready for this. Let's dig a little bit more into the fashion industry and clothing. Something that I really wanted to talk about today was about this idea how also clothing makes us feel like our bodies aren't the right shape and the right size, and that we need to continue to change according to the expectations of the fashion industry. So I was reading on some blogs and stuff, and I really loved this quote that I found by a woman named Melissa Heisler, and I think this is from like a blog post. But she said while she was out like trying clothes on in stores, she was saying the problem was not that my body wasn't fitting the clothes. The problem was that the clothes did not fit my body. And I think that that's an ideology that we don't really have, because we have been taught to think that if we don't fit the clothes, something's wrong with me.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, my butt's too big for these jeans. Oh my God, I need to go another size up. My boobs are too big for these shirts. Nothing fits me right. And then it brings on this whole like mood of depression and shame and self-loathing. I have so many times where I feel like I can pinpoint being in a dressing room and feeling really just like bleh, like loathing my body,
Yeah.
and walking out really, really like depressed.
Yeah, and I realized too that the models they use to make the clothes are always going to be like a certain size. Like, have you ever tried different brands? Like, maybe you try something from like Penny's and then you try something from like Target or Macy's, and they all fit different, even though they're the same size.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really true. And yeah, it's interesting to see because their models are really tall and really thin. So if you
Yeah.
are not within those parameters, you will most likely not fit the clothes the way they design them to be.
Mm-hmm. Well,
um,
it's like not most of the population. Like, I don't know many people that are above like what 5'8", but yet a lot of the models are made to be super tall like that. And then for people short like us, we try pants on and they're way too long.
hmm Well, Sarah, how tall are you? Because I feel like you're pretty tall.
I'm about 5'7".
Did you feel like growing up that you had a hard time with clothing? Because I know you kind of fit more into this category of the taller, little bit thinner side.
Yeah, so I definitely dealt a lot with growing up. I was very, very thin. Um, Actually, to the point where I feel like most people feel that they're like, if I'm a little thinner, maybe I'll fit the clothes better. No, you don't. Clothes aren't made for real bodies. Growing up, into an embarrassing age, I still had to wear the child sizes with the elastic pull and buttons to adjust the waist because my waist was too small. But at that point, my legs were too long. So all these pants became capris on me. And it was infuriating. And everything never hit my thighs right. And it continues to this day. I was actually, one of my mom's friends started a company called String Beans. I don't think it's still going. I don't know if it picked up speed. Where she made pants that were specifically extra long and could be added length, and then had sizes that were extra small on your waist. And I actually modeled a little bit for them growing up. So yeah, it's a struggle. So even if you're on that bottom scale where where most people think it'll be easy to find clothes, turns out clothes still aren't shaped for you. They're shaped for a very specific body type that really not many people have, even if they're small. Our proportions are still different than what the clothing company is aiming for.
Yeah, and kind of going off of that, I wanted to mention more about makeup because for some women, makeup is really hard. Like maybe they're not even allowed to wear it, maybe they're just really bad at it. And then they get really self conscious because all the other girls are wearing makeup. And just the fact that there's two sides, if you haven't noticed, and I'm kind of talking to Sarah about this because she's super into makeup right now. So there's been two sides I've noticed. There's either girls that shame other women for wearing too much makeup, or there's girls that support other women because they're just bringing out this beauty and creativity in themselves. And I know that's both kind of part of the feminist community. There's just like two different wars going on, and it's like, where do you stand in that? Because I personally want to support people for trying to try new things and being creative, trying makeup on, like, obviously I think it's so fun that that's just a part of, being a human, that you can even do that.
I mean, yeah, I think that makeup is such a big opportunity for people to express themselves. I mean, you can do so much more than just adding glitter to your eyelid. You can create entire extra parts of your face. There's prosthetics you can attach, and there's whole styles you can do. It's not about going outside and being presentable anymore. It's really become an art form, in my opinion, that some people can dip into. It's creating art on your face and kind of using yourself as a canvas and just being really creative. And I think that's a huge issue, is people haven't exactly seen it like that yet. And I mean, especially growing up, my intro to makeup wasn't great. It was, keep it neutral, keep it natural.
Right.
Fair, I'm, probably don't want to be smearing teal colored eyeliner and stuff on my face and eyeshadow all over. So, thank you thank you, Mom, for not letting me have to look back at those pictures. But at the same time, I think it should be encouraged to experiment. Why not have a fun weekend where you can just lay it on and not have to be embarrassed about what other people think?
Yeah, just try new things.
So yeah, I've been kind of in quarantine, I dipped into that because I've kind of started to see the more art side of it and realize, I'm not making myself up to be, a beautiful, presentable woman. I'm having fun and I'm creating something on my face that kind of adds a little something to my outfit, as you would maybe jewelry, and being able to go out and just kind of have fun. It makes you feel really confident.
Yeah, you were really serving some looks on your Instagram.
I
Yeah,
love it.
and a little experiment with the shapes, with the eyeliner and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I really wish I could get better at that because it adds something. It really does to your face. It makes you look, I don't know, more awake in a sense, like alive. I don't know, just adding color. I love it.
The thing is, it's not even like getting better. Like when I started this, I'd never done it before. I think I've only done about 5 looks, and there's no practice in between them. It's not like I'm putting it on and taking it off. I'm just kind of layering as I go, and the finished product is what it is.
Nice.
And I think that's kind of part of it, is not being harsh on yourself. If this is something you want to try, do it. If you mess up, guess what? You're learning a new talent. You're being creative. There's always a learning curve, and you can take it off really easily. So there's really no danger, just trying it and exploring.
I really love lip colors too. That's always been one of my favorite, is like lipsticks and lip glosses.
I'm super digging lip gloss right now. Oh,
Yeah.
it brings me back to the 90s. It really does.
I invested in a bunch of sparkle ones. Yes. Get the glitter in there.
Yes. One thing too that I kind of want to point out, which is funny, is we're talking about a lot of kind of some more like feminist and holistic perspectives, I feel like, when it comes to women's body image. And so something that I've noticed too is that for a lot of women who consider themselves to be feminist these days, I feel like a lot of women just don't wear makeup.
Yeah.
Because people have decided that, as we embrace our beauty, you embrace natural beauty. And so there's a lot of women these days who just don't wear makeup at all. So I'm kind of curious what you guys think about that too.
Well, like for instance, I've started just not really wearing makeup at all. Like I don't wear it when I go to work because I want people to look at me and just see me. I mean, you'd get the same thing if you wore makeup, I think, but I feel like I get a different reaction when I wear makeup to work than when I don't. And I mean, I do work around a lot of men at work, so I just kind of want to be a plain Jane in a sense, like just go as I am and be really relaxed at work. And I don't also have a ton of time to put makeup on in the morning. But on the weekends, I love putting makeup on. Just like it's me time. Like I get to do something fun.
Yeah, I've never really worn makeup day to day, ever. I mean, I guess I grew up, didn't know how to do it, and just kind of was like, this is annoying. I'm a very lazy person. I don't want to get up that extra time in the morning to even deal with that. So I guess from someone who's never really done that, I've never felt the need. I've kind of ignored the pressure, and I've just kind of been like, this is my face. You get it. Like, this is what you get if you're gonna work with me. Like, this is what you gotta see. Sorry if it looks tired. Yes, I did have a bad night's sleep. Like, that's just being human. Sorry that it's not too pleasing to look at, but I don't want to put on a mask. I don't want to have to always look like I'm happy or smiling or joyful or not tired. Like, it's just the reality of the situation is I'm human.
Yeah.
And I think that as women, as we're progressing in society, kind of with feminism and stuff, that pressure to have to wear makeup all the time is definitely decreasing. So I think we are definitely seeing a lot of women realizing I have kind of control over this. I don't have to listen to kind of what media and society has been pressuring me to do. So I think kind of as that's gained movement, more women are doing that.
Yeah, and I think what's most important with this movement is the fact that women have a choice. Like, you're not getting a message that says, oh, makeup's evil or makeup's amazing. You're getting a message that's like, you can do whatever you want, girl. Like,
Like, do you?
yeah, so like you can wear makeup every day if you want. You can not wear makeup ever, like if you don't want to. I just think the world would be a way better place if we could just look at each other for who we are rather than if we're wearing makeup or not. Like that shouldn't really matter.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I love the perspectives of coming into it and using things like makeup. And honestly, even with fashion too, these are pieces that have been used against women to constrict and define what social expectations are for beauty. But we're learning more and more ways now of how to use it for us to make us feel beautiful and confident and to help us love ourselves by using it in a way that lets us express who we are.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, kind of as a good way to end the podcast today, we should talk about a few tips of how we show self-love and self-care and some ways to encourage some other ladies out there to embrace that holistic view of yourself and your body and your mind and to understand that you're awesome as you are. So what are some of those ways that you guys kind of show yourself that self-care and self-love?
One important thing that has really just come into my life more recently is trying to take better care of my skin. Just learning how to find the right face scrub. And also, I've heard moisturizing is one of the most important things you can do. And then just drinking tons of water because it's amazing what water can do just to help you feel more awake, help you have more energy. It's just a miracle. Just drink tons of water.
I mean, yeah, definitely been drinking more water. Realized my whole life has been me being dehydrated. And then I think kind of overall, something I've just worked on is letting yourself be you. Like just being goofy, being straight up goofy at times. And it just really helps kind of keep that energy level and that like kind of distaste for parts of your body and personality at bay. It's kind of it's a big release of serotonin, and it kind of just lets you be really happy.
Serotonin.
Serotonin. I know what I'm doing. That was on purpose.
For me, one of the things that I like to do is to find and focus on those things that make me feel beautiful and confident. So I know we were talking about like expressing through makeup. For me, I find right now, especially, and honestly, just throughout my life as a young adult, has been painting my nails. I feel really pretty when I have a nice color on my fingers and my toes, and I show it off, and it makes me feel confident when I go out into the world.
I mean, I know some more health related things would be like eating healthy. Like, obviously, that's a good thing to do. Like, if you have a food allergy, like Grace and I, for instance, which you hear probably all the time, like, we just talk about that all the time. But, like, we can't have bread, so we don't eat bread. We feel way better. So, if food makes you feel sick or gross, maybe you should think about not eating that food. But also just spending time to get to know yourself more. I know Sarah kind of mentioned something like just doing things for you, like getting some fresh air, going on a walk, maybe getting some sun, trying new makeup skills, whatever it is.
I think it's also really important to identify and spend time with the people in your life that validate you, that make you feel confident, that make you feel like it's okay to be who you are. Because people who aren't like that, it's not really great to be around them. And so make sure that you can find those people, identify those friends that you have in your life, and make sure that you're spending some good time with them.
Well, in general, like, what is something you do that just makes you feel really good?
Dancing.
Dancing?
What kind of dancing?
It just lets you be loose. I pull out all my definitely best, amazing, outstanding dance moves that I have and dance around your room. My favorite place is the kitchen. If I'm cooking, baking, I'm kind of just swaying around in there. And
nice.
It's just all part of letting yourself laugh and kind of definitely not be beautiful while you're doing it. I'm pretty sure it's horrendous for anyone watching. But it also makes other people laugh. And it's just kind of all part of that being positive and letting yourself be just raw.
I'm having flashbacks to being in your old house and having like ballet music on and just like dancing around your living room in costumes, of course.
The costumes aren't necessary.
Oh, for sure. The tutus.
If you have a tutu, it helps.
Oh my gosh. I'm sure it's very hard to find an adult tutu.
Go on and get one.
Yeah, just check Amazon, But what's your favorite song to dance to right now?
For me, it's most any Macklemore song right now.
Nice.
I'm going back to those Macklemore days.
Macklemore.
Nice. I kind of thought it would be really cool to end on this quote that I found too by the same gal that I mentioned earlier, Melissa Heisler. It was kind of her mantra of like how to look at yourself, and I thought it was really insightful, and I thought it might be a positive way to end this. But basically she said, as you go through the week, be aware of the judgments that you make about your body. Stop imagining you can be something you're not, and embrace and accept yourself exactly as you are. Notice and release the comparisons you make about yourself versus others. Feel comfortable in your own skin and see how it changes the way you approach the world. And I just thought that that was a really great way to think about how to take care of ourselves, and also learning how not to care about what everybody else thinks about how we look, what people say we should look like.
Also, just not to judge yourself, but also not to judge others too for how they look. I just wanted to say thank you so much, Sarah, for joining us on this episode. It has been a pleasure having you with us, and you've had so many good things to share, like very wise words to share with us all. And I just hope that maybe sometime you can come join us again, possibly.
I mean, I've definitely enjoyed this. It's been a new experience, and I'm so thankful for you guys for inviting me on here and giving me this opportunity to share my totally wise words from a 21-year-old.
You do have wise words. Don't even kid about that.
Don't even kid about it.
Don't even kid about it. It's so funny.
Well, everybody, thank you for listening in and for supporting us. And we hope that you have a good rest of your week. And we'll see you next week for a new episode.
See you next time.
Say bye, Sarah.
Bye.
Bye.